you. Hi, I'm Jason Gardner, founder and CEO of Marqeta. So we're essential infrastructure for building payment cards. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, whether it's prepaid, credit, or debit. And we power some of the greatest brands in the world, from Alipay and Square to Instacart and Klarna. So we're an open API for issuing and processing. We're actually the first company or platform built in the last 20 years to deliver this type of product to the market. So a little bit of how the payment ecosystem works. So there's a front end. We call this money in. These are companies like Stripe and Adyen. And then on the other side, think of the 16 digits on a card as an IP address. And that routes to what's called an issuer processor, and that's Marqeta. We authorize transactions on behalf of our customers, or something that we introduced to the market, which is pretty significant, is called JIT, or just in time. So we actually deliver the message that's generated by the point of sale, whether that's in an offline format, something you guys do every day, which is swipe Visa, MasterCard, Discover cards, or online, like buying something through Amazon. So we deliver that to customers, and our customers ultimately authorize those transactions. Again, whether that's Square, Affirm, Max Levchin's company in the US, Pay with Affirm, so enormous growth. So we focus on 5 areas: on-demand services, alternative lending and POS finance, payouts, expense management, and e-commerce and virtual. And you can see by the logos up there, we power a lot of great companies. So we've raised $76 million to date. We're almost 170 people, located out of Oakland, California. We operate natively within the US and Canada, and we'll be in Europe next year. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Please take a seat. So Jason, we were discussing backstage that this is not your first company. You're pretty seasoned. So if you could give the audience a quick express elevator on the previous companies you founded and what made you actually want to start another company.
So the first company I founded back in the late 90s was a company called Vertical Think. It was kind of like a dating service between web developers and web development projects. To be honest, it was kind of a disaster. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very young, but had little businesses since I was a kid. Second company I started in 2004 called Property Bridge, allowed you to pay rent electronically. Sold that to MoneyGram International at the end of 2007, and founded Marqeta actually by myself in January of 2010. The way I think about businesses is you either have an idea or an idea has you. Once that idea has you, it almost like with kinetic energy pushes you to go and build these businesses. It's actually a lot of fun. This one I actually started by myself because I didn't want any co-founders.
Why didn't you want any co-founders?
I had a very specific culture I wanted to build, and when you're building culture, it's tough to get consensus when you're working with 2 or 3 or 4 other people. And I mean, we're very successful companies, so I feel like it was certainly a risk in the beginning, because if there's entrepreneurs in the audience, I mean, you know how both physically and mentally exhausting it is and stressful to build businesses. So when you're doing it by yourself. I think for me, like with regards to Marqeta, there are sort of 2 lenses that I look through. One is, is what we're building either support a core business or it is a core business. So when I'm out, whether it's building technology, selling technology, or marketing the technology of Marqeta, it basically allows me to create a good message around what we're building and why we're building it.
And so as a US founder, you mentioned that you are coming to Europe. What has driven you to look to expand to Europe, and what do you think of the current European tech ecosystem?
So we get actually leads every day from all over the world. A lot of them come out of Europe. People use credit and debit cards, whether they're physical plastic whether they're tokenized, like in Apple Pay or Android Pay or Samsung Pay, and then virtual cards using online. So we see leads from all over the globe. A majority of those leads are coming out of Europe. We also power, European brands like Klarna. We power companies like Instacart, which is, going to be coming to the States. We have very close relationships with companies like Apple and Google, who operate within Europe and, want our modern issuing and processing technology to be there. I think when you look at Europe is pretty close to the States. You have about the same amount of people. Obviously cultures are different, but you're seeing where our business models, are about 18 months behind what's being built in the U.S. So it's actually a perfect geography for us to launch in.
And so a question that I asked some of the other fintech CEOs was about their tips for founders when it comes to investment and raising capital, and what sort of would be your top tips for doing that, because some founders choose to not raise external investment for a long time. Some are able to do self-funding. So over the years, what has been your top things that you thought about when you were about to hit the road to raise financing?
I would say is you beg, borrow, and steal from your friends and family before deciding to go out and raise capital. I think when you go out and raise capital, you need to have an absolute crisp story about what you do, why you do it, who it's serving. It had to have a very large TAM, or total addressable market. If it's consumer, is get traction. I mean, that's the key. For me, I basically took all my money from my last company and poured it into Marqeta. My wife was going to kill me. I ended up selling my car. Everything practically bankrupted us. But I think once you have a passion for building a business, like money is not really something that you focus on it, but if you have it, you just want to pour it into it.
And so with all these companies, you need to hire great people. And so when it comes to hiring, I'm sure that you've got a knack for spotting great talent and what you think will fit your culture and what you need from people, and to get the best out of them. So for the founders in the audience, what is the thing that you look for when you are trying to recruit talent into your team, and what top tips can you share with other founders?
I think when you have a small company, it's definitely attitude versus aptitude. It's building businesses is a lot of work. You have to really enjoy spending time with these people. They need to be incredibly dynamic on the things that they're thinking about. And we've made decisions where somebody, aptitudinally probably will fit very well in regards to what you're trying to do, but the attitude isn't there. So even you'll take somebody with maybe less experience, but an amazing attitude, and that, as you're building the business, that's who you want to be spending more and more time with. So we've, our culture, which you hit upon, like we've had, in the last 2 years, we have 170 people. We've had 3 departures, and only one was for another job. One person decided they wanted to move to Thailand, and another one said they decided they wanted to do something different. And I think that goes back to actually building a culture, that sort of attitude versus aptitude test, and that's key to retaining and hiring top talent.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for your insights, and we look forward to seeing your company here in Europe.
Great. Thank you.